Okay, this demo is on saving out the animation and also doing some final touches on the animation. So here's our basic animation or basic keyframing. And I'll notice here that the block is appearing in the scene. I don't want the block to appear in the scene in the beginning or the end. So I want it to come from the edge or off of the edge of the canvas. And I don't want it to show up at the beginning or the end. So probably the easiest way would be to just use the zoom tool. So I'm going to click the plus sign on the zoom tool, and voila, the cube is gone. That's the only object I'm going to have just start off of the screen and end off of the screen. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, notice here too, my animation from 2 seconds to 3 seconds, I have no activity. So I can just, the easiest way to get rid of all that dead time is just to change my animation duration. So go to animation setup. Instead of 3 seconds, I'm just going to change it to 2. So the looping will be much faster and you won't have all that dead space for another second. So now my animation timeline is only 2 seconds long. And so when I watch it, I can see that the loop goes through and then it ends and then starts again. Much better. So we don't have that lag time of the last second. So again, you can always change the length of your animation anytime. Okay. So now to render the animation, just make sure your controls are all set and they look good. Now I'm going to select AVI movie. AVI or QuickTime would work. Choose a compressor such as Cinepak and change the quality to about 90%, say. Okay, you can also choose any compressor that works for you. You could use Xvid here. I have trouble with Xvid on my computer, so I'm going to use Cinepak. 90% quality, and then set is where you're going to tell it to save. Okay, easy enough. Click save. Yes, I want to replace the previous one. Yes. Okay, so check mark. And there you'll see each frame starting to render. It'll render every frame while it's rendering the whole movie out. And there's the cube coming in. You can see how it's rendering each frame. Now notice here, look at the first maraca going into the second. It's going through the other one. Okay, so if you find areas that look strange to you in your animation, you can go back and edit. So I'm going to stop the animation by hitting escape. Then I'm going to select the maraca and I'm going to reposition that rotation to where it doesn't go through the second maraca. Okay, so again, make sure auto key is on. Okay, that's important. Okay, and then I'm going to select the maraca here. And when it rotates, I'm just going to rotate it back toward the edge of the box so it doesn't go through the other maraca. So again, as long as auto key's on, you can go back and make as many adjustments as you need to. So right there at the rotation, I just need to rotate it less. So bring it back toward the edge of the box. So I'm having trouble getting that key point. There we go. So it looks like I located it there, and now I've just brought it back a little bit, and that should probably do it. Much better. Okay, also I'm going to select the second maraca here and look at that movement just to make sure it looks halfway decent. Okay, and I can rotate its position if I want to. But first I'm just going to look at bringing that up. I noticed that the edge of the maraca was sinking down into the bottom of the box. So I just rotated the edge. Again, make sure auto key is on. Okay. So here everything's set the way it was. Yes, go ahead and replace it. And now we'll start animating. And again, looking at the second maraca here, I'm not sure I like the motion. Okay, the motion isn't too bad as it begins to move, but notice that the maraca again is still sinking into the floor right here. Okay, if you want to change that, no problem. You just have to reposition it along the timeline. And that's what I'm going to try to do, is get it to sink less. So again, I just push the escape button on the keyboard to stop the animation. Back to the beginning here. I'm just going to look at it. Yeah, see how it sinks down into the ground? You can clearly see it. That's not good, so I want to fix that. And a simple rotation along one of the axes should take care of it. Okay. So there we go. That's probably looks a little better there. Even though it's still moving up and down, it's a little better and it's not sinking into the ground, which is exactly what we want, I think. I'm not sure here, so I'm going to delete all the keyframes and just start again. But once you've gone through the process of keyframing, it's much easier to delete them and do it again, and you can do them faster. Theoretically, anyway. But I found too, with practical experience, once you do something, if you have to repeat it, you usually can do it faster the second or third time. Okay, so I want to create that second keyframe after the first. That's crucial, so it stays in the same position. Okay, and then all I have to do now is rotate it over just a little bit. Okay, having trouble finding the right point. So change to object space to see if that helps. That looks good right there. So it looks like I didn't have to use the rotation tool up above to rotate it correctly. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, so it's going to hit the other toy object there at that point. Then again, don't forget, if you go back and revise, don't forget to control click your first keyframe from in rotation and copy it to the end so it returns to its original position. Okay, that looks good. Okay, everything seems to be working pretty well there. Okay. Okay, so here we're going to render out the animation now. Settings are all the same. Just replace, yes, say yes. And here you'll notice again the keyframes start to render. And you'll see every frame rendering. And if you look down in the bottom left-hand corner, it'll show you how much time has elapsed and how many frames have been rendered. And it looks like here we have a total of 31 frames. So again, you can start to see how the animation takes quite a long time, especially to render. This is especially important when you're trying to meet deadlines here. You really want to make sure you give yourself plenty of time to render out your animations for a production. So we'll let this render out. And then when it's finished, your player will probably pop up and play the movie so you can watch it, say such as in Windows Media Player. You can tell Bryce to go ahead and play it automatically. Or QuickTime, you can, if it's a QuickTime movie. Okay, so you can see everything happen in one frame at a time here. And an animation like this is going to render fairly quickly. if you're not using a lot of materials or really complex textures. In this case, the toy box is probably the most complex texture, and the lighting adds a little bit of complexity. But it's going pretty fast here. Now, your more complex animations obviously will take much longer. That can be as long as 24 to 48 hours, believe it or not. There have been times when I've had to leave my computer on for at least 24 hours to render a project. Okay, so the animation's finished now, and here you can watch it. Here's the player here, and you can just watch it in real time and just see if it's looking okay. Looks pretty good. Okay, cube shows up, then disappears, and then creates that chain reaction. So now that you have your AVI movie or your QuickTime saved out, that's the one you're going to want to copy to Blackboard. So you click on the folder where you stored it. Again, find the the AVI, right click it, and then you'll copy and paste, right? Okay, so there it is. I just want to click on it to make sure I'm getting the right one. And it's looking good. So again, find your AVI, watch it, make sure it looks good, then right click it, copy, or you can just attach it in Blackboard. Okay?